TJ Watt is no longer the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Big deep news. So obviously everyone knows Micah Parsons got traded to the Packers yesterday. Packers gave up 2 first-round picks, a 2026 and a 2027, and also Kenny Clark, and gave him a massive contract that makes Micah Parsons not only the highest paid edge rusher, so he beats TJ Watt out there, but also beats TJ Watt out in the category of being the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, getting $47 million per year. He has more guarantees than TJ and more on a per year basis. Insane, man. I'm not gonna front. So I'm just gonna go over the Micah Parsons trade real quick and weave some Steelers stuff in there throughout, because there are some connections because of TJ Watt playing the same position as Micah Parsons, and there were talks about trading TJ Watt this whole offseason versus giving him the contract extension. So there's parallels between Micah Parsons as a player versus TJ Watt, but also we play the Packers this year, and we have a draft pick from the Dallas Cowboys that is coming our way for 2026. So, like, what type of ramifications happen there with Micah Parsons no longer being in Dallas? But let's just start off with Micah Parsons, the trade. What are my thoughts? I'm not going to front, man. I actually don't think it was a bad deal for Dallas. I really don't. It's almost like the conversation we were having about TJ before we made a bunch of these moves this offseason, like bringing in DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, all that stuff, where you're just looking at what we've done with TJ over the last 6 or 7 years, and no matter how good he is and all that stuff, we still haven't been able to win a playoff game with him, and he's been disappearing in the playoffs. And the fact that the NFL has shifted so much more heavily to offense, is it smart to pay a guy $40+ million like that? Because we saw Myles Garrett steal, and we're like, okay, TJ deserves more than that. We get it, but is it smart for the Steelers organization to go in that direction? Or would it be better to just trade TJ, load up on some first-round picks, maybe get a player in return? TJ's 30. Again, we haven't won with him no matter what stage of his career he's been at, no matter if we've been paying him big money. He's in his prime, his rookie season, even last year where he fell off a little bit over the last 7-8 weeks of the season. Like, we haven't won with TJ Watt. So why is it this guarantee that we're just going to pay him $40+ million as he's going to be aging into his 30s? Like, this was a legit conversation, right? Legit conversation. And then, we got Aaron Rodgers in here. We made all these moves this offseason, the big-time turnover. And you said to yourself, you know what? We can't afford TJ. We need to have him on this roster for this year, because we'd be sending mixed signals by making all these other moves and then not paying TJ Watt. So we had to do it. Whereas the Cowboys, listen, man, let's be real. They're not doing anything with Micah Parsons. They're not doing anything without Micah Parsons anyway. And if he's disgruntled, he's wanting $47 million. That's the thing now. This is why I also am thinking this is not a bad move for Dallas. Not paying Micah Parsons $47 million per year, that's part of the trade too, because that's what the Packers are doing. They gave up the first-round picks. They gave up Kenny Clark, who is a 3-time Pro Bowl interior defensive lineman. And that's something Cowboy fans and Cowboy people have been complaining about, is how bad their run defense is. Kenny Clark's actually going to help out in that department. Not having Micah Parsons sucks. Don't get me wrong. I think the Cowboys are worse right now than what they were, but they also got those 2 first-round picks, and you don't have that massive contract to deal with. That's part of it too, man. Like, would anyone be surprised if Micah Parsons is a little bit banged up throughout the course of this deal and isn't having the same impact that he had the first 4 years of his career? Do we think for sure Micah Parsons is getting better? Now, he's in his prime, and that's why you give out this deal. But I think 47 was too much. I think it was a little bit too rich. Maybe the TJ deal, you just pay him a little bit more than TJ, 41, 42. That makes more sense. 47? My God, I don't think he's even better than TJ Watt right now. If we're just talking about this season coming up, Micah ain't better than TJ. So that in and of itself makes it an overpay. But it's kind of the same conversation, again, we were having with TJ. I just don't think Micah Parsons is as good. But he's more in his prime right now. He's younger. More of a versatile, chess piece that you could use on defense, move around. So, I get paying him and paying him a little bit more than TJ, but 47? And, for the Cowboys, everyone's ripping on him. right now. Everyone's saying, wow, you made a huge mistake. This is devastating to Dallas. Bro, what were they doing with Micah Parsons anyway? What were you doing? So you might as well collect some assets, not pay him that money, and have these 3 massive contracts on your books with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. The CeeDee Lamb one, fine. Dak Prescott, that was already a big mistake. And then you're doubling down and giving Micah Parsons a $47 million deal when you don't really have a good enough surrounding team anyway to make a playoff push and make a serious Super Bowl run. Might as well trade him, man. Like, I actually don't mind the move. Now, you could argue, could they have gotten more? For sure. I think you could have gotten more. And you maybe, I don't know if you could have gotten more, because this is the same deal as like the Khalil Mack one, really. And maybe you can argue at that point who was better between Khalil Mack, Micah Parsons. Maybe I'd lean Micah Parsons, but there's a debate between the two. Khalil Mack went for 2 first-round picks. I think an extra pick or something. Whereas in this case with the Cowboys, they sent the player and Kenny Clark because the Cowboys are actually trying to still be relevant this season. I think Kenny Clark helps with that. He's obviously not better than Micah Parsons. I don't think the Cowboys are necessarily better on paper, but there is something to be said, and we talked about this with Pickens, about getting rid of a distraction. And I think Micah Parsons, you were starting to get to that point with him. Getting a distraction, becoming a little bit bigger than the team, conversations about you and your contract. You're sitting out in preseason game, just chilling on that bench, laying down, acting like you don't care. Like, that's not a good look. You got a whole new head coach trying to establish a new culture. So there might be a little addition through subtraction there on the Cowboys end as well, just by getting rid of Micah Parsons and having like this fresh start, the same way we were talking about Pickens. We're worse on paper, but there might be something to be said for the new culture, the better vibes, the increased chemistry that makes up for the loss. I think they could have made the trade earlier, before the draft, if it was always going to come to this. But I do think Jerry Jones and the Cowboys wanted to keep Micah Parsons. It just got to a point this offseason. It's too far gone, breaking point. It's either we play hardball, and this is going to be the back and forth that bleeds into the regular season between the organization and player, and he might hold out through the season and it continues to get ugly. Or we're a week away from the season starting. Let's just cut ties and move on. And that's what, the Cowboys did. It's what Micah Parsons did. But, yeah, I actually don't think it was that bad of a move for the Cowboys. I don't really think Micah Parsons is making that much of a difference on this Cowboy season. I'm sorry. I don't. Maybe a win difference. Like, they're very heavy loaded on offense. Their defense wasn't going to be good anyway. They're probably just going to be 9-8, 10-7, with or without Micah Parsons. Now you're not paying him that contract. You got some draft picks. You got a Kenny Clark who's going to help you stop the run. I don't really blame the Cowboys. I really don't. Things were getting tense. It became a toxic relationship between the two. I think you had to part ways. They weren't winning anything with Micah Parsons in the past either. Like, the TJ Parsons comparison, TJ's been in the league longer, but it's very similar. Very similar, because Cowboys have complained about Micah Parsons disappearing in the playoffs. They haven't been winning with them. It's like, where you been? And we've been talking about that with TJ Watt. Now, I think different scenarios, because Cowboys, now, they may be deluded into thinking they can be contenders this year, but they're not. You're always going to be capped with Dak Prescott. You weren't going anywhere with or without Micah Parsons. Whereas Steelers, there's hope. There's hope. I mean, we got a chance. We got an all-time great in here in Aaron Rodgers. There's a path for the Steelers formula, too, that we've seen work out recently with multiple teams, like winning Super Bowls. LA Rams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2 good examples of kind of going all in the short term, making some big swings, bringing in some big names, big talent, and it just works. It meshes. And we're trying that out this year with Rodgers, Ramsey, Darius Slay, Metcalf, Jonnu Smith. We're giving it a try. So there's at least hope with the Steelers. There was never hope with the Cowboys. There's not hope now with them not having Micah Parsons, none of that. But at least you're not paying them $47 million and completely overpaying them like that. You got some draft picks in return, and you got a Kenny Clark, and you got a fresh start. So I actually don't mind the move for the Cowboys. I really don't. I'd like the move for the Packers too. Packers are better now as well. Like, Packers are in this window with Jordan Love. They got a bunch of young talent. All right, let's get Micah Parsons in there. I see why the Packers did it too. I don't blame them. I think it was just a good move. Everyone's talking about the Cowboys getting hauled and how stupid they were and how devastating this was. They're trying to compare it to the Luka trade. I don't think so at all. I really don't. But anyway, let's go to like Steelers ramifications again. I weaved the TJ Watt comparison throughout those however many minutes I was just talking about the Parsons trade. But we do play the Packers week 8. It's the Rodgers reunion, the Rodgers revenge game against the Packers, his former team. It's going to be at home. We're going to be wearing those throwback jerseys. So Micah Parsons is going to be on the Packers. How much impact does he really have on that game? I mean, I'm looking at their defense. They kind of suck in the secondary. They're lighter in the middle without Kenny Clark. You got Micah Parsons. Your linebackers are sick. Micah Parsons, Quay Walker, Adrian Cooper. Your secondary sucks outside of Xavier McKinney. And then your defensive line's a lot lighter without Kenny Clark. So how much impact is Micah Parsons really going to have? And this is the conversation we had about TJ Watt and paying an individual defensive player that much money. When you have guys on offense, like offensive coordinators, smart elite quarterbacks that know how to run an offense and avoid some of these really top players on defense and take them out of the game plan. And I would like to think with Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers and the weapons we have on offense, we will be able to neutralize Micah Parsons. And the fact, too, they don't have like this star-studded defense where if we neutralize Micah Parsons, we got to worry about a couple guys in the interior or guys on the back end in the secondary. They got McKinney, Quay Walker, Micah Parsons, Adrian Cooper. Lucas Van Ness hasn't really lived up. You got Devontae Wyatt, who's good. They don't have this star-studded defense. So I don't think Micah Parsons being on the Packers, I'm telling you this. Maybe this is just the state of the game right now. This is more of a commentary on where the NFL is. I don't think Micah Parsons being on the Packers moves the Steelers-Packers game by like a point or two. I just don't. I don't think it moves the Packers win total for the season to like a game. I just don't. Maybe half a game. It's not much. But if you're talking about quarterbacks, yeah, that's what moves the needle. Elite quarterbacks. And this isn't rocket science. We've been over this. The Steelers season comes down to Aaron Rodgers playing at an elite level, playing like Aaron Rodgers again, and our defense playing good. Because obviously you have to have a competent team all around. Some sort of competence on both offense and defense. But it comes down to quarterback and having at least a timely, like, top 10 defense. That's it. And the Steelers weren't either of that last year. As the regular season waned down, we saw Russ not playing as good and our defense starting to look like Swiss cheese. So there's that aspect. I'm not too concerned about Micah Parsons. I'm just not. We got Aaron Rodgers. I'd like to think he's going to know how to manipulate that defense to take Micah Parsons out of the game. I'd like to think so. It's not going to be that big of a deal, especially like it's different if Micah Parsons already joined another loaded defense. Now, granted, Micah Parsons maybe upgraded his surroundings by going to the Packers, so that may help him even bolster his game a little bit more. We might be seeing the best of Micah Parsons in this Packers season, but I also, again, wouldn't be surprised. All right, little banged up, and it's not what everyone thought it was, because that's kind of what happened with Khalil Mack with the Bears. Did he fully live up? There was a season or two where he was like the best defensive player, one of the best defensive players in the league there, but still, what did the Bears do? They had a good defense. They had Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. Their offense was lackluster. You need the quarterback, man. You do. You need the quarterback. That's number one. Need the quarterback, need the offense. And I see why the Packers did it. I don't blame them for doing it. I think they upgraded, but in particular for that Steelers-Packers matchup, I ain't stressing about this trade too much. And then with the Cowboys, Micah Parsons not being there, I've kind of hinted at it throughout the show. I don't think it moves the needle that much for them. Like, 10-7, 9-8, maybe their ceiling, maybe 11-6. That's their ceiling. Their floor, they'll be relevant if Dak stays healthy. They'll be relevant like 7-9. So that draft pick for us that we're getting from the Pickens trade, and that's the thing. I feel like that was the ceiling and floor with Micah Parsons for the Cowboys, honestly. But anyway, for the Pickens trade, that draft pick we're going to be getting, third rounder, it's not going to move too much. I think it's going to move between 10 picks potentially. And How much impact this Micah Parsons trade had on that, I don't know. I really don't. Because I just told you Cowboys ceiling and floor. I think that was their ceiling and floor with or without Micah Parsons. So they got Kenny Clark. They're a little bit worse on defense on paper. But then, again, is there a chemistry positive they get from letting Micah Parsons go? And just having that fresh start. New culture, new coach. They do get Pickens in there. That should help their offense. Yeah, I don't think there's this serious ramification with this Micah Parsons trade on anything that's related to the Steelers and the Cowboys and Micah Parsons. I just don't. I don't. Let me know your thoughts, though, down in the comments. That's it for today's show on a Friday. Have a great, safe weekend. Maybe have a video over the weekend. I might work over the weekend. I might give you guys something because I had some other topics I wanted to get to, but I feel like I went a little long in talking about this Parsons situation and all that stuff. So we'll save it for another day. It's not going anywhere. I think it's good topics to talk about, though. But again, that's it. Stay chilling. Peace.